So I have switched in English, as you can see. So I would like to welcome Carlos.lee for this conference. Carlos.lee is Director General of EPIC. EPIC means European Photonic Industry Consortium. It gathers about 100 companies, I think, and
180.
And 80 companies, and few academics, and we are part of them as Institut. And Carlos will show you how wonderful photonics is, particularly in Europe. So,
okay. So can you hear me well at the back? It's loud enough? Okay. So thank you very much, François, for inviting me to make this talk in front of students. I guess you're students. I mean, that would be the right word. I have children, but you're not children anymore, so you're students. I'm not used to make presentations at universities or schools. I just remember that when I was at school, we were horrible with the teachers. So please remember, I'm not a teacher. Be nice with me. I'm not used to this audience. I work with companies. I visit about 50 companies every year. We usually meet the CEOs, so the executives, the people running the companies, or I meet with the CTOs, the people running the technology of these companies. So it is very industrial. So that's the world in which I work with. As you mentioned, we have 180 companies part of our association, of which 100 are companies and 50 are universities and research organizations. The reason we welcome universities such as yours, schools, is because the companies need to be competitive. They need to make products. They need to develop technologies. And for that, they need people. And there is a problem. There's not going to be enough engineers in the future. It's a fact. There are not going to be enough engineers. So I've got children, 14, a girl who does dancing. I'm not sure she's going to become an engineer. And twins, so boy, girl of 10 years old. She's also following the dancing. Not sure she's going to work. And one boy. We'll see. By the way, very nice to see. What's the distribution? You really seem to have 50-50 of boys, girls? No? Sorry? 29% of the girls. Well, I think there are more here, so that means that the boys are somewhere else. So we don't have enough engineers. Yes, so I meant my children, they play with the Xbox and they have the iPad and they use technology. So people and young people use technology, but they don't necessarily think of developing that technology. I mean, somebody has to develop the software, somebody has to develop the iPhone. And that is not something which I think is so natural to think of anymore. I think that in the past, did you play with Legos when you were young? Okay, well, did you play with Legos when you were young? Yes. Do my children play with Legos? I'm not sure anymore. But I think that the big difference that has evolved over the years is that in the past, you could play with technology, well, not with technology, you know, it's a little motor, it's wheels, you can play with that. And today, because everything is so much electronics, and there's not so much you can play with electronics. Oh, here is a semiconductor. You can't do anything. It's the black chip. If you open it, it's broken. You can never put it together. So I think there is a challenge in getting people to think engineering and technology because you can't touch or play with it anymore. Same as with the car. I think that, I don't, because I was raised with my mother in an apartment, so I'm not very technical. But I think that some people really like to play with their car and you know, tune the car, and I don't know what they do with the gears and the brakes, but I think that today it's pretty much electronics. So, you know, again, this technical aspect is a bit lost. And the companies, again, they need these engineers. I don't know if you know about that statistic, that it's a clear fact that we're going to be missing engineers. Is that, you know about that? People think, well, you know, when the company grows, we will hire some engineers. But there is a huge, huge amount of engineers who have 30, 40 years experience who are retiring. They're going on pension. And somebody has to replace these people. And if you cannot find the people, well, then the company has a very, very serious problem. If it's a big company and you cannot find 10 or 100 employees, it can be really dramatic. Some companies really grow very fast. I remember a solar cell company, when it was the photovoltaic boom, I think they had 1,000 people in 1 year. So that means 3 people, or let's say over a week, 15, 20 people every week they have to hire. And if you don't hire the people, you can't produce. I don't know, at Cantel, did you ever have peaks where you really had to hire a lot?
We had a peak at 40 people in 1 year, a company with 200 people.
And then the growth was, or how many people you hired?
40 in 1 year.
40 in 1 year. So it's 20%. So every year they have to hire somebody to produce the lasers. You cannot hire the people, you cannot produce. You have a serious problem. And assuming that you will always find somebody, I'm not sure that is correct. You know, if there is not enough, there's not enough. Anyway, that is the reason why I'm very happy to come over here, because you are the future generation, and the fact that you're already here is fantastic. I don't know if this is your first choice of school. How many of you chose this as a first choice of the school? Okay, so excellent choice. You will see why photonics is a great choice. For the others, you will find out why it is a great second choice. So it's great that you're going into that direction. So I think the objective of today is that I want to tell you about photonics. What is photonics? You're welcome to ask questions at any time. You know, raise your hand if you have a question, a comment. You're very welcome to do that. I had a stagiaire, Julien Trastour. He was in 3rd year from the Institut Optique, and he did an internship, a stage, for 2 months at our association. And it was a period where I was traveling a lot, so he came with me to exhibitions, to conferences, and he really enjoyed talking with people from industry and visiting companies. And he was in 3rd year. Himself was quite surprised about how diverse the applications are in photonics. So I thank you for inviting me, because maybe that addresses that a little bit, so that they can already see that what you will be studying. So you're starting this year, correct? Okay, so that you can see that what you will be studying, how that ends up into something concrete. So let me then start with the presentation. And so indeed, I work with EPIC. EPIC is an industry association. How many of you have ever heard of an industry association? See, that's exactly the same as with me. I studied finance, by the way. So I'm 22, and in Belgium, when you finish your studies, you take a summer job, because you know, you're looking for a job. You just take any job. It's well paid, you know. So the first month I was opening the door of a building. Just, it has a nice word in French. What is it? It looks very. No, it was not portier. It looked something like notaire. It was really like a very. The guy who opens the door, who is at the entrance of the building, was a. No, it was really. It looked very prestigious, but it was not. But maybe it will come back. And then after that, I went to work for an industry association, which was called SEMI, for semiconductors, electronics, and I had never heard of associations. You know companies, IBM, Intel, HP, computers, watches, you know, companies, but an association never heard of. And I love the job. I've been there for 20 years. I don't sell products. I just work with companies and try to make that these companies are successful and that Europe is successful in photonics. So it's not competitive. It's all collaboration. So we have 180 companies which are member. They pay 2,000 euros to be member of the association. And with this money, we organize all sorts of activities to help them be competitive. So my experience is, although I do not work for a company, I work a lot with them. Okay. And my wife, you already know why it's always red, green, and blue. My wife does not understand why the logo of Photonics 21, of Photonics Sweden, of Photonics Finland, of EPIC is always red, green, and blue. She thinks we are absolutely non-creative with the logos. They all look the same. But I guess I don't have to explain to you why it's red, green, and blue. But as a non-technical person, I thought the first green, my only experience with colors is the printer, which is yellow, red, and blue. Yeah, so I was really confused, like why in light do you have 3 other primary colors than when it's in printing? So I guess you know about photonics. What I would like in the future is, well, I hope, who of you has not heard of the word photonics before the summer? You know, before, you had not? So you had not heard of the word photonics before. You are the ones who chose this school as second choice. Interesting. And so, well, then it's really, I'm really glad to go through the presentation. But my objective is that you will see afterwards, photonics is everywhere, it's really important, but people do not understand photonics. If you tell to somebody a solar cell, who has heard of solar panels? Who has heard of LED lighting? The lamp LED? Okay, good. Who has heard of the epilaser? Well, you're too young for that. Oh, you have. Why have you heard about the epilaser? I'm worried now. Okay, good. Fibers. Who has heard of the word fibers? Okay, you see, that was already a lot more. A lot of people know applications, optic fibers, because you see the truck for the internet, you see all that, but you don't think of the umbrella photonics. And my vision is that in 15 or 20 years, people will recognize photonics as electronics. You know, electronics, electrons, photonics, photonics. You know, photonics is very large, and somehow it also means nothing. But for the politicians, and for the general public, you should have just one word, you know, that encompasses. Just like you say electronics. When I ask my wife, do you know what is electronics? She answers, because I asked when I started the job, she said, oh, it's a little black box that you find in the computer. Okay, you know. But it's not, at least she said something. You know, it's not much. And by the way, it's accurate. It's very often a little black box, and you do find it in computers. It's not much, but she could say something. When you ask photonics, people have no clue at all of what it is. So I want to promote photonics, and therefore my easy explanation, electronics, photonics, but it's with photons, which comes from the Greek light. I don't know if that is totally correct, but you know, it sounds good. You know, photonics comes from the Greek, means light. It involves lasers, lenses, mirrors, optics, fibers. So it's a very, very large domain. I mean, if you had to explain electronics to somebody, you could also make a whole presentation. So, you know, it's very large. And it is anything that is the creation, use, and modification of light. And so that's the definition. It's a very simple definition. You take any application. Is it using light? Is there anything using light here? I don't know. Huh? Well, he's creating light. Well, I had saved that for point number 2, but so the solar panel is the one that I come with that is using light. Creation of light, well, most of the things create light. What is maybe less obvious is the projector. Obviously, the lamp bulb is creating light, the laser pointer. The display, the screen over here, that's emitting light. When you take a picture with a camera, that is capturing light, so that's for all lights. And modification of light, I usually put in there all these lasers where you concentrate. I guess this could be somehow constant. Would this be manipulation of light? You know, you're concentrating the light. Okay, I'm not technical, and you're in the first year, so you're not able to contradict me yet. I will say that this is somehow modifying light. You know, you're concentrating a lot of energy into a laser or that. So it's a very, very simple definition, and we will go through all of the applications that go with that. Well, these are just numbers, but okay, anyway, to tell you why photonics is important also, that it's not just technologically important, but if you have to put financial numbers to that, if you look at other industries like electronics, at the materials industry, nanotechnology, you can see that the photonics industry is one of the largest. Okay, so in addition, when I finish my talk, I hope you will all see that photonics is everywhere and is very exciting. But also business-wise, it's a huge, huge potential market. I like to say that photonics is like electronics 50 years ago, when they were starting with the first computer chips, you know, and imagine being 50 years back and saying, oh, I think there will be something like an iPad or an iPhone, and we'll be connected to the whole internet. And people would say you would be crazy, and they would not want your company, and you know, why you call that an Apple, that company, or I don't know. But it's already a very big industry today. And you will see it will only go up. 5,000 companies in Europe rely or develop photonics technologies, 400,000 jobs and 40 clusters. We'll go into that more in details, but you can already see that it is a very, very important industry. And I'm the head of that association. Isn't that great? Yes. We are only 2 employees. You know. So I tell my children, Dad got a new job, and I'm the big boss now. We're only 2, but I'm the big boss anyway. Okay. So some of the examples you see here, we'll go over this all in detail, but it goes to entertainment, cars, agriculture, defense, manufacturing, energy, medical, and art. So let's go through some of these more in details. Communication, okay. So again, the purpose of these next slides is about 10 slides, and you're welcome to ask questions or to suggest other proposals. I want to give you some of the most obvious applications of photonics, and then some of which I find extremely creative, and some of them of which I don't always know if it's for real. The difficulty of going to all of these leading-edge conferences to see prototypes is that you go home and you go like, well, that's how it's going to be in the future. And actually, I don't sometimes really know what is already in a product or what is not. But it sounds good anyway. So displays, anything which is a screen, GPS, the camera, your calculator, it's emitting light. And that's why you can see it. That's a photonics technology. You could say it's an electronics technology also, and you'd be right. So, you know, if you take a computer screen and you say, is that electronics or photonics, the answers, you know what the answer depends on? Well, is the projector electronics or photonics? François? I don't know. Well, you're working here, you should say photonics. The answer is, it depends what you studied. Really, it's both. You know, it really depends on your background. And you know what? It doesn't matter anyway. What does it matter if it's electronics or photonics? I think it doesn't matter. First of all, because the consumer, the user, doesn't care. You know, when you buy a camera, you don't care what's in the box. No, but it's very important. You will see later on, doctors have a problem. They need to be able to see cancerous tumor cells. Together, should you have a cancer in the brain or whatever, when they cut the cancerous tumor cell, they have to cut everything. If you leave a little bit of cancer, it grows again. And when they have to cut the cancer, they don't know what is cancerous or not. I go to a presentation of cancer tumor cells in the brain, and you're really, really scared because you go, my God, they don't know where they're cutting. They cut, and they cut a little bit more, and they hope they have cut enough. And that is the reality. That is the reality. So, and then they just, no, but that's the only way to say it. They will not say it like this. I can tell you that's how it is. I saw it. So what they are hoping for is for photonics technologies to be able to see the cancer. You know, that you can just, with a color or through a camera with special glasses, they could see the cancerous tumor cells. And that will happen. And imagine what a revolution that is. This is like being in a room which is the dark and to put the light on. You know, so these are the kind. So point is, these doctors have a problem. And how it works, electronics, photonics, you know, microsystems, microfluidics, they really don't care. So it doesn't matter how you call it. So a television, cinema, cameras, all the telecommunication, so data can be transmitted through fibers. I don't know how it works, I just know it works. All the Facebook and all of that, you have fiber cables on the sea. And the fiber cable, it looks like the one that you go fishing, but it's not made of nylon, it's made out of glass. I have seen such a factory. They make a préforme, and it looks like a glass. They melt the glass, and then it drops down like a wire, and then they roll it, and that's an optic fiber. It's really glass, but so thin, it's flexible. That is transmitting data through a wire, through a fiber. But you can also transmit data through LED lights. So I don't know if you have ever seen a demonstration like this. If not, go on YouTube. You find everything on YouTube. You take an LED light, and the difference with an LED, it can flash very fast, on, off, on, off, on, off. You wouldn't see it with the eye, but it goes on, off, and you know the zeros and the ones. You transmit data. So there is a very nice presentation where somebody has a little receptor, looks like an iPad, and he's below the LEDs. And so he's there, and it's transmitting the data, so you can watch a movie, and it's coming from the top. And then he puts the hand in front of the light, and the data doesn't go through anymore. So this is transmitting data for telecom, datacom, images, pictures, video, whatever you want, through light on a fiber or wireless through like that. And the question is, what do you do with these technologies? It's like when you had, I was very impressed when my phone what do you do with these technologies? Okay, so you can transmit data with the light. Some examples, you're in a museum and you take an iPad, let's assume that this is an iPad, and then you go in front of the Mona Lisa and you go here, and it will tell you, this is the Mona Lisa, blah, 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 whole description. Why? Because you have situational data. It's coming from that light over there, you know? And then you go to the next painting over here, and that's the Rembrandt, and you have that. So that could be used for that purpose. It doesn't go through the buildings. You know, when you use wireless, big concern, what if the CIA or the FBI, what is it called? The ones who spy the CIA? No, the NSA. What if the NSA is capturing the waves outside, but it's light, so it stays here, it doesn't go through the building, could be used for that. Or you go to a hospital and they say, monsieur, so you're for the brain cancer, okay, good, no. And follow the signs, so it will guide you, now go straight, you know, it knows where you are, go to the left, because you know who you are, where you have to go, it could guide you that way. In the airplanes, all the airplanes have an LED lighting now. Well, it could be used for going on the internet. So that's a technology which is there. We do not know yet the applications. Cars, they need to communicate to each other. They will communicate. The car's coming from there. You know, if there is a police car or a radar, the car coming could tell you that. He could just be flashing a code which says, you know, there's a police, 100 meters, 200 meters. It could transmit that data. That's one of those that I don't know if it's for real or not. But it could, and so that's a technology which is existing. We don't always know the applications. That it goes very fast, yes, well, you know how many times is it written not? Okay, anybody knows how many around the Earth the light goes in 1 second? Okay, somebody takes a guess. 8. You knew that? You calculate very fast? He's just smart, he knew it. 8 times, yeah, I think it's 7.4, so it goes very fast around the Earth. Next one, entertainment. Yes, I don't know, I haven't been to a discotheque, which by the way, they don't call discotheques, my children, it's called a club. You go clubbing, you don't go to discos anymore, apparently. But at least in big concerts, all the light shows that they are having, well, pure entertainment. Decorative lighting, well, your Christmas tree probably, but that's not very high tech. What else do we have as entertainment with lasers? Any other ideas? Entertainment, I don't know. Buildings, yes, the building facades. You see a lot of buildings now being lit from outside. A very simple would be you put a little light bulb, you know, with a projector, and then you have it goes like this with a V, you know, and then you put another one like this, and so where the V crosses here, you would have a lot of light, you would have no light. Today, I have no clue how they do it. They make really the lighting that the whole building facade is the same color lighting. You see what I mean? So that they don't all go like that. So it has innovated. So you see a lot of Tour Eiffel. I mean, that's probably just light bulbs, maybe, I don't know. Where I live, you have, it looks like a nuclear central station or something like that. Well, now you think I don't live in a nice area. But it's not nuclear, it's just a cooling tower for energy. It's very ugly. It's just concrete, beton, like that. They have put all lights around. And they have the theme, so when it's the fall, you have all leaves going around, and when it's Christmas, so they really have like if it was a display. So it's turning something really ugly into something decorative. Okay. Electronics, smartphone, the display. If you take a smartphone, the display, the camera, the flash, it's all photonics, it uses light. The CD player, he's using a laser to read, the DVD, Blu-ray. And flexible displays, well, yes, it would be, you know, they test. It's not here that the technology. They have little displays that you can almost bend, you know, so you could imagine a newspaper, you know, and you could click on it and you would have a video playing for one of them. I think a newspaper you have to throw away every day, so maybe not a good application. Maybe it could be a newspaper which is an entire screen, which only has 2 pages. Will that work? We have the iPad. So in addition to your technology studies, it's really good to also think business-wise. You may have a really great idea, but you know, if you are not going to sell any of it, well, it's not worth much. Sometimes you have an idea and then it's used for something else. The Post-it is the classical. I think the Post-it, they wanted to make a super glue. It didn't work at all, obviously. And now they made another product of it. So, so sometimes you have these technologies, flexible screens, what are we going to do? You know, it goes on the phone so that then, you know, you can curve the screen maybe. And you could see there is a message. Is that a good use? So sometimes something starts as gadget. You develop a technology. Then you make a gadget market, you know, like on the phone something. But that helps to create a high volume. It helps to make it cheaper, and then maybe you find it somewhere else. We'll see. So, photonics in all what is entertainment applications. In energy, so solar panels is the most obvious, various kinds of technologies, concentrated photovoltaic, thin film technology, crystalline photovoltaic. But you also use this in nuclear factories, in centrale nucléaire. Why? For instance, with a fiber, if you, I don't know, okay, very simple terms, it's not exactly correct how I say it, but somehow they put a fiber along the wall, and if there is a little crack, or if it moves a little bit, it will immediately notice that. So to see the building infrastructure, is this building cracking? And in a nuclear centrale, that's not a good sign. Okay. So you can use also fibers into that, for that. In this one I know, in the windmills, when there is too much wind, they have to turn the blades so that it doesn't take too much wind, otherwise it goes too fast. So again, they could put a fiber up there, and then you can see the strength, it's pulling the blade. You could see that there is tension on it, and there is more tension, you could turn it around. So in energy, not only solar energy, but in nuclear, it's just in oil and gas. So in oil and gas, they drill a hole. I don't know how deep they go, 2 kilometers, 3, 4, I don't know. And they want to see, is there any gas there? Is there how much gas, oil is there, petrol? I think they use a fiber technology, whatever it is, to be able to see how much petrol is there. A fiber can resist very high temperatures, so they use that for that. So again, photonics used in oil, gas, petroleum, windmills, solar energies. In the cars, okay. Huge applications in the cars. It probably starts first with the luxury cars. And as always, it starts with the luxury cars because it's more expensive. And afterwards, it goes to all kinds of cars, but applications inside the car. So you're in the car. Let's recap, okay? You're in the car, so you have already the screen of your GPS. You have the little buttons. They always have a little light. That's photonics. Then you have the little light over here. That's a photonics thing. Maybe you will have these flexible displays. Could be a flexible light, OLED, organic LED. So, the whole roof could be that. The windows, they're transparent, but they could also switch to a screen. So maybe that's futuristic, maybe. But the screen could be, the window could be a screen. Actually, it could also be capturing energy. It's a transparent solar cell. The communication, I think you have, I don't know, really a lot of kilograms of metal cables. That could be fibers to transmit the data. Then outside of the car, you have the light in the car, which is now from the traditional light bulbs to, that's how old I am now. Then I have known the normal light bulbs, and then you had the xenon lights, and then we had the LED lights. I don't have those because I have a very cheap car, but some people have that. And now you have laser lighting. So the new Audi A8 and BMW i8, they have laser lighting, can go 600 to 800 meters. 600 to 800 meters lighting, lasers, with the advantage, when you have a light bulb, it just goes around, it just goes everywhere. Lasers, you can control it. So if he detects another car coming that way, okay, so let's then hide this part, and I can still see my 600 meters, especially in Germany. You drive 200, and you still want to see 600 meters, and you can hide that. So lasers into the light, also at the back of the cars. A lot of the sensors, it is a fact that cars will drive by themselves. A lot of money is put into that. I see no reason why they would not. As you know, in California, they have licenses. They can test cars that drive autonomously. Somebody's next to it in case something happens. Bosch, they make electronics in Stuttgart. They also have a license for that. When you say that cars drive by themselves, could also be trucks. The trucks are really just following each other. So quite frankly, it's quite easy. Maybe you start with those trucks. I went to see the tracteur, the tractors. Now by GPS, the tractor knows where he has to go, where the machine has to cut. Precision is 2 centimeters with a GPS at least. So frankly, I don't know what the farmers are going to do, but so what did I want to say? Yes, autonomous vehicles will require a lot of radars to be able to monitor what is going on. It's called a LiDAR, so there will be a lot of photonics technologies used for that cars. They have problems, and this is why it's great for you. They have problems. They don't know yet how to see through fog and how to see through heavy rain. They don't have a solution for that. Great. We need people who research, who spend time on that. And that's what you're going to be doing. In medical, it's so many. It's really very, very exciting to see. So let's start with the basic ones. Laser eye surgery, tattoo removal. That I don't like the tattoo removal because I had the excuse with my children, don't make a tattoo, it's for life. So, now they say, well, you can remove it, but okay. But laser tattoo removal, endoscopy, it's all the tubes that they put here, cameras. I don't know how big was a camera before, but today, a fiber, as I told you, it's just a fil, and you can put a camera at the end of that. So that's fantastic, when you go, or, it's less painful. Not that you would want, but if you have to, you'd rather not it be too big. All what is for cancers, it's quite simple. Being able to see things, it's fantastic. So you're allergic, Again, no, it's going to come very. No, it's going to come very soon. You will take your smartphone, you go to the restaurant, you order a salad, you take a snapshot picture. Are there any peanuts? Because I'm allergic to peanuts. That's going to come very soon. And in 20 years, people will say, like, did you know that 20 years ago they didn't have this? And if you were allergic to peanuts or strawberries, you could die in the restaurant. Really, they couldn't just take a picture and be able to see there are something there which is bad. And this is probably work in progress. I mean, I have seen samples of that. Now the diabetes, that's also very. Millions of people have diabetes. Always the picking, you know, I don't know how they measure. I know a little girl. Now it's very simple. They pick a little bit and they analyze the blood. But very soon they already have today ways to measure the level of glucose non-invasive. So just through the skin. Okay, so that's opening a whole world of applications. All what is e-health, you know, with the watches that have sensors, heart rate, beat rate, you know, and then you get an SMS telling you you're about to have a heart attack, you know, these kind of things. No, but, you know, yes, no, so you can call the ambulance before you know. So, futuristic, no, in a couple of years, I think you already have it. If I take my smartphone, if there's a small, easy app, you put your finger in front of the camera, and he's telling you your heartbeat rate. It's very simple, and it's just a gadget, but, you know, it's just with software stuff. So in medical, it's going to be a huge opportunities. Europe has several problems. Europe has a problem with people getting old. Aging society is the correct word. Aging society. We have problems with always environment and safety. Safety also from attacks, chemicals attacks, water pollution. What are the other societal challenges? I think employment, but that's not technology. Anyway, all what has to do with environment, nature, health are huge markets and where there are needs. So medical, many applications. All what is advanced manufacturing. So today, that also for the car, you have to cut the metal for the car. So with a laser, you can cut 8 centimeters of metal. If you take the salads, I think, no, or the cigarettes. No, cigarettes I know for sure, but I think in plastic bags for the salad also, they have to make little holes. I think a laser can make 400,000 holes a second. You know, that's a lot of holes in a second, 400,000. So in plastic bags so that they can breathe a little bit. You don't see the holes, but you know, that's in manufacturing, you can use that. When you buy now a pack of some supermarkets, les congelés, when you open it up, it doesn't go anywhere. You just go like this and it cuts really nicely. It opens the bag very nicely. Any of you cook? No, well, maybe you do because it's all the frozen food. In Belgium, you have Bofrost, which is from Picard, I think, something like that. And anyway, you open the bag and it goes really, it's pre-cut with a laser. The airbag in the car, the day that thing is going to open up, the leather, the dashboard, it's pre-cut with a laser, so it cuts it halfway. So you can use it for heavy manufacturing, cutting metal, welding metal, making holes. You can cut in textile with a laser, textile. You can engrave in wood, plastic, metal. So it's a lot of applications. And all the cameras. So when you manufacture a car, you have to take pieces, you have to do that. Anything which is going to replace human activity, it's a lot of cameras. Vision, inspection. Security, defense, and rescue. Okay, a lot of people are against military. Any of you who would not work for a military company by value principles? Yeah, okay, well, quite a few of them. The good news is that some of these technologies are also used for good. They're mainly used for bad, but they could be used in theory for good. No, but so seriously, if you want to see a killer in the middle of the night, you need to be able to see night vision, but that is also then used for rescue. When somebody goes in avalanche or and debris from a building that falls down, so a lot of these technologies are used for good applications as well. The advantage is that the military has a lot of money. And so they can put a lot of money to invest into research, into technologies that can then be used for other applications. So what are they able to see? So for instance, this is also good. If you do something stupid and the NSA or CIA is after you, don't hide under a tree. You know, you have cameras they can see behind that. Don't hide in the dark. Obviously, they can see that with heat cameras, hyperspectral cameras. The other one which I really liked is they can say, how do you say it? And tobolor, you will tell me what it is. But you know, if you have the car and he drives away, le pot d'échappement leaves heat behind, and that's probably going to stay for a minute or two. A camera who is able to see there was a vehicle there and he drove away, and they can follow you. Bolomètre. So sometimes that's almost like seeing in the past. You know, you can see there was somebody there. And I have seen such a camera. Camera is on me. It's black and white. I had a tie. I did not put a tie today, not to scare you. And you touch the tie, but really, really just like this. Just a little bit. And for 5 seconds, you can see on the camera that it's more heat. I said, you just touch a little bit, and for 5 seconds, that shirt is now more hot. I was very impressed. Military applications, seeing through walls. I'm not sure, sometimes it's a combination of photonics technologies or not, but to be able to see through a wall what is behind. They go into a building with a little drone, really, the little helicopter, the little drones, put a camera, software, he goes inside, you put it in the building, he's going to fly around, you're going to see it, too late, he's going to scan all the places, since the image is outside, now the guys outside know who is where, what they are doing, what does the building look like. Again, military application, but again, could be used for very good applications, such as if there is a building, a building that collapses, you want to know what is where. Any other nice applications? Chemical detection, so with lasers and sensors, you can see that. Don't drink and drive. You know you should not, but the other reason is because you may get caught. In the future, well, not in the future, again, I'm confusing, but with a laser, if a car is driving by, you're able with a laser to analyze if there is alcohol vapors in the car. Now, of course, it could be the passenger, but you know, you're able at a distance to see, well, let's not stop that car because we don't see any alcohol vapors, but that one, there is a lot, you know, and if there are, so analyzing alcohol at a distance. Seeing the speed of wind at a distance. I still don't know how that works. I'm really impressed how with a laser, a sensor, you can see what is the wind at 100 meters there, you know, that also. And you can put displays into textiles. So, you know, you get dans les fibres, you could put textiles so that when the fireman is there, you could have messages in there. You could just simply see him better. Or in the hotels, you go outside, no electricity, the carpet has an arrow, left or right. You go out of your hotel room, do you go left or right? It's not always obvious, you know. The nice one I like now is in case of fire, there's a little poster in the door in the hotel, say, in case of fire, before you post it on social media, get outside of the building. So that's what is going to be on the carpet, you know. So you can incorporate lighting into textiles. Agriculture. So I guess that the old model is that they put les semences, and then they grow it, and then they cut it, and you know, whatever happens, happens, and they will see later how many apples we had. Are the apples good or not good? I think that's probably how it used to be. So I went to in Foire de Libramont in Belgium, which is about agriculture. So now, how is it going to be? A drone, very cheap they become. Hyperspectral camera, flies over the land. You know, it's really like a toy, you know, it probably flies by itself. GPS is fantastic for that. He flies by himself, you tell him the max and the, you know, the distances, he flies. You have a map of which areas need fertilizers. You know, in the past, you know that you have to give engrais, fertilizers. You go with the truck and he puts fertilizers everywhere, you know, that's what he does. With the drone, you can see it's called precision agriculture. Not every place needs as much. You know, when I throw, there's always a lot there because I throw for the grass there, and you know, it's not very éparpillé nicely. With the drone, you see exactly which areas need more azote, nitrate, you know, and you have that on the map. Okay, then you send a truck, and he knows exactly where he has to sprinkle more fertilizers. Donc, précision, agriculture de précision. Okay, so you could use that for that purpose. You're also able to see the height of, how do you call the plants? The blé? Anyway, you can see the height of it, so that you can better predict how much you're going to have. Now, I'm not used to do this in English. I'm not a farmer, so my vocabulary. You can predict how much paille, how much straw you're going to have. The drone flies and can measure how much height there is, so he knows where it's going to be. Fruits, are they ripe, or not ripe? Again, photonics technologies, cameras, you can see that. You take all of the fruits, apples, whatever, you put them on a machine. Camera is going to see which one is good, not good yet. Sorting technologies. So in food and agriculture, a lot of photonics technologies can be used. Indoor farming, one of my favorites. I really like the, oh yes, those two also. Indoor farming, okay. I find it quite a waste to have a land, well, huge land, to grow one salad. You know, if you look at that salad, and you know, it has probably 2 kilometers up there, just for one salad. Today, you have plastic foils, which have all the vitamins. Just give it a bit of water. You can grow the salad indoor, like in a factory. I don't know here in the pharmacie, but in Belgium, when you go to the pharmacie, he has these drawers that go down one level, and it always comes up. It just turns like that. You know what I mean? So, you know, he pushes on number 10, and then the drawers kind of turn, goes up and down. You can have the same with your salads. You have artificial lighting, okay? You have your salad on that plastic, you give it a bit of water, and it's just growing there. Salad doesn't know if it's inside or outside. First, the salad doesn't care, you know? And the light, today you can make the light with the same spectral distribution as outside. So a part of your psychological thing that you may not like, that the salad is grown in a cupboard rather than in the grass, frankly, I think that vitamin-wise it's probably the same. On the good side, since you do it in a cupboard, less need for fertilizers to kill the mosquitoes and all the animals, because they don't get into there, so maybe that's better. And the other nice thing is, like, you can bring farming back into the city. You know, you don't have to go outside 30 kilometers from Paris. You can have inside the city a big building, and you go there and you cut them fresh. So it's fresher, you have better control, so maybe that could be the future. And changing the taste. Oh yes, the other one is, because of the light, you can control the speed of growth. So you look at the stock market, too many tomatoes, prices of tomatoes go down. You can slow down the growth of your tomatoes. So you just see, you can have a better forecast. We're going to need more tomatoes in a week. With the light, you control the speed of that. You know, that's fantastic. Now it's just relying on, you know, whenever the tomatoes are ready. Changing the taste. So with raspberries, the framboise, you can change it, the raspberry taste, depending on which light you give it. So a lot of applications that can come into this food thing. And if you think that this is how many of you have a preference to eat a salad from the farm versus from the cupboard? So who doesn't like the idea of eating vegetables that come from the cupboard? Okay, quite a few of you. So what is it that you already eat today which comes from the cupboard? The surimi. Do you have this surimi in France? How many of you eat surimi? Okay, it tastes crabs, it's not crab. You eat that. I mean, you know, it's just a question of getting used to it. What else do you eat that, I don't know, but there are some other things. Any other ideas of things that it's just a question of getting used to it. Okay. In art, any of you who like art? Really? I'm really impressed. Well, that's because I'm not an art person. Now that's really good. I tell you why it's very good. Have you heard of STEM in science? STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. You know, we want to encourage children to study STEM so that you become engineers. Again, science, technology, engineering, and math. And there's a new trend. You have to push for STEAM. You put an A for the arts. And why? Because you want to have creative people solving problems. So the creative element in your job is going to be extremely important. So all of you who like arts, I can only encourage you to look in these creative, artistic hobbies, or whatever you call it. It's really, really useful. So for those who, for the more traditional art, you're able to see behind a picture. So you have a Mona Lisa. I'm not an art person, so you see it's already twice Mona Lisa. It's the only one I know. You have Mona Lisa. He maybe painted something else behind that. You're able to see the painting that was behind that. What else? The Sixtine Chapel, which I read is in the Vatican. They use a special LED lighting system. Now, these technologies sometimes are new. They're not validated. The people who have these paintings are not sure. LED light, is it different from this light? What is the effect on the paint? Will it deteriorate? Okay, you know, but you do research on that, and but that's done. To see if they use fake. So if you sign a check, you know, I'm going to give you 100 euros, and I write 100, you know. And 2 years later, you add 2 zeros. That's a problem for me. With photonics technologies, you're able to see, although it's the same ink, you know, you will be able to see there's a difference here. You know, there's a difference that was written probably at a different time of that. So they use it a lot also for forgeries. So in art, you are also able to use a lot of that. And it's not art, but it's also related to light and perception of light. I visited Zumtobel in Austria last week. Zumtobel is the largest European industrial lighting company, and they have a light forum. So they have all sorts of, they can change the lights. And then they put the light really red. Wow, that is really bad. We all look red, your skin looks red. It's really aggressive, really very aggressive. The other interesting one, the wall is white, and he puts the light blue. And all of a sudden, you don't see the wall anymore. You have no perception of distance with blue. That was an interesting one also. And the one which I liked most, he has two cubes, and he has 2 bananas, 2 apples, 2 oranges, you know. And then he asked me, which apple do you like, this apple or that apple? And one is really more shiny, looks more fresh. The other one looks maybe normal, I would say. Normal lighting, yes. I said, I prefer this one. Then he changes the two. I say, which one do you prefer now? And it's still that one. So now you're like, wait. And so it's really amazing. You can see how much the lighting changes that thing. And so maybe you know this, that in the supermarkets, they put smells when you go through the fruit area, you know? So you go, oh, it smells nice, 2 oranges, I want to buy some oranges, you know? And well, they will start doing the same with the lighting. You will go there and say, oh, these vegetables look great, I want to buy these tomatoes. They do it already for the meat, apparently. So you see this meat, oh, nice, very red, blood, you know, red. You take it out, and it's brown, which is very disappointing. But that is already in there. And so they do the same with the clothes. So you will take a clothes, and what is Abercrombie? Who has been to Abercrombie? There's no light in that shop. You buy something, you go outside, it's another color. And so they do the same. He took a blue jacket, and then you have one light, looks great, changes the light a little bit. You can't really see it, you know, that the light has changed. But the blue doesn't look very nice. And it's really amazing when you test it just like that. I think we don't have enough experience with this testing of the light, but when you experience that, you go like, this is crazy. I like the apple, now I don't like it anymore. Okay, so a lot of applications in art, in entertainment, in the shops. And I think that's about it for the applications. Any questions so far about applications? Technologies? You have to ask 3 questions, otherwise we don't continue, so you have to. You can ask the questions in French. Yes?
When you talked about transmitting data light, were you talking about Li-Fi?
Yes, it's called Li-Fi, light fidelity, correct. That's what it's called. So there's a company in France called OLEDcom, which does that. Some other companies that do that. And again, the applications are not really yet well known. So it will be interesting. I'm interested to see what in the end. So again, you have a technology. What are you going to do? It's like the guy who invented the first wheel. It's not really useful. It's the guy who invented the second wheel. Yeah, could do more with that. So let's see what the Li-Fi becomes. Another question? I need 3 questions to continue, so I'm waiting for the second one.
Vous avez le droit de poser vos questions en français avec
Yes.
l'accent belge.
With the art, is there any application with conservation of paintings? Or
Yes, that is a concern. So I don't know what the status is, but you're right. Different lightings is, I just say light is light, but no, apparently so. So I don't know. I do not know the latest status, the current status, but that is indeed a concern. Yeah. And sometimes they say you want to use the same light that he had when he created the painting. So if you know that the painting was created in the south of France in that season, it's a different light than if the guy was in Finland, Lapland, So you maybe want to see that lighting in the same kind of conditions. But you are really today able to recreate the whole spectrum of light. Actually, I have seen it. You take the iPhone, you go outside, capture the spectrum, go inside, reproduce it. Same thing. So that's also going to be quite fantastic. Today when you have a building, you want to be, the bosses want to be close to the windows. You have all of this nice light, but then it gets cloudy, So the guys in the middle, if they have artificial light, you can actually choose which light you want. You could also replicate, so that if there are clouds outside, even you're in the middle of the building, like inside this room, you could still have clouds. You could reflect what is going outside, reflect that inside. They also use a lot of the lighting into the classrooms. They realized that some kind of classrooms help for the dynamic and some kind of lighting helps for the creativity. So usually you would want to have a stronger, I think they start slowly with the light in the morning, then you put a higher intensity until 4 o'clock. And then you smooth it down again, slowly. You don't notice it, but this is your circadian cycle. This is what your body is used to. But you have to slow it down at 4. If you don't slow it down at 4, you keep it, say, well, let's keep them working hard till 6, 7 o'clock. Guys, super like that, can't sleep in the evening, you know, so he starts next day. So you can only do this on the Friday. You screw up his whole weekend, but, you know, at least he worked till 7. Okay, one last question, come on. Yes?
On these things you call the light, it's
Yes.
often invisible. I mean, for example, on the cars, for communication between the
Yes.
cars, it's not visible light.
It is not, so again, I'm not a technical expert, but I think there are two things. One is the fact that you don't see the light, like ultraviolet or infrarouge, that you don't see the light. The other thing is that you have, like in the museums, the Li-Fi, you see the light, but you don't see that it flashes. Okay, so that's different things, yeah.
All light includes ultraviolet and...
Ah, yes, sorry, I'm not a technical guy, but for me, light, it goes, is terahertz photonics or not?
Terahertz is photonics.
Terahertz is photonics as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So from UV and XUV, you can say starting at 20 nanometer of wavelength up to...
Yeah. Okay, good. Yes, please.
When you speak about different lights, doesn't it influence the tomato's taste, for instance?
Influence the taste. Ah, yes, of course. Any of you who has eaten blue chocolate ice cream doesn't work, huh? It really doesn't work. It's extremely confusing for the taste. I go to a booth party, he gives you a glass, and it looks like beer. And then it's celebration time, because it's the anniversary, they change the light, and now it looks like champagne. And it's extremely confusing. They have done a lot of tests like this. You know, you change the light, you just don't know what you're having, just with coloring, with the food. The perception, you know, the brain encompasses all of these kind of things. He makes all of these assumptions. So yes, it does affect. So now that you mentioned that, when it was with my wife, our 10th wedding anniversary, I had taken a light bulb, I painted red, and I put it, you know, the whole romantic thing. I'm not sure what effect that had to have just the red, you know. Just, but yes, it will affect the perception of taste. Absolutely.
About taste, what about tomatoes that are growing up under artificial light?
Yes.
Are their taste changing?
I don't know the answer to that. I think it's a very good question, but I don't know what are the elements that affect the taste of a tomato. I mean, we all say that the sunlight has an effect. I'm assuming that the soil, the earth, has some effect. I don't know the answer to that. But given that it's just the same light as outside, I just don't know to what extent that will be an element. And even if the taste would be different, you get used to it. Apple juice doesn't taste like apple juice. I mean, who has tried real apple juice? Well, you know that it really doesn't look like the bottle of apple juice. I mean, there's nothing more different than those two. So even if it doesn't taste like tomato anymore, just like the surimi, you will forget it. I guess you will get used to it and say, this is a tomato. And then they give you a real tomato from outside, and you'll say, oh, no, that's disgusting tomato. It doesn't, you know, the taste is too strong, and it's, you know, so we get used to these kind of things. Unfortunately, well, this is why I don't say evolution. The world is changing, you know, whether good or bad, we call it. Yes? So I think that the big difference is that the more technologies you have, the more you can invent. So it's true. I think developing technologies today, you don't get as much credit as in the past. You know, you have microscopes, you have precision tools, all the tools even that you just have in this school. Compared to the guys who developed the first computer chip. Do you know why it's called a bug when the computer has a bug? Yeah, okay. You know, these guys, when they needed, you know, these computer chips, you have to test if they are heat resistant. They used to put it on the rooftop of the building for the whole afternoon, go and get it back to see if they still worked. They had no tools of that. With the tools that we have today, frankly, I think that's why maybe one way that you can have more applications. I would say that's one element. Yes, I think that the speed of development becomes faster and faster. I think that's one of the elements. And the fact that people do not know about those photonics, again, on the one hand it matters and it doesn't. Again, you don't care what's in the car. How many people know how a car drives now? I think the cars, some already have it. The steering wheel, it used to be a metal thing, you know, when you go like this, it turns the wheels. I think a few cars already, it's not anymore like that. It's really like a PlayStation. It's electronics. And the gas pedals, it's the same. And what they put a little motor to give some pressure. It's all artificial, because if you're in the car and really like it just goes like this, you're a bit, whoa, what's going on here? But so the consumer doesn't know anymore those technologies which are there. So does it matter that he's aware of it? I don't know. There's so many things we have no clue about. You know, when you eat a sausage, do you know what is in a sausage? You know, I don't know. But it matters in the sense, as I explained in the beginning, that if people don't think technology, they don't think that somebody develops these technologies, that it's great, and I would go and work for that sector. So in that sense, I think we have to promote, and Europe is doing that. We are promoting to have more of these engineers. Les nuits de la science, les nuits de l'astronomie, I don't know, all the sorts of contexts, all of that. So generally speaking, we have to push for people to know more about engineering. Another question? Yes?
How about applications of holography?
Of holography, so because you watch Star Trek. Okay, so yes, holography is a photonics thing. Obviously, it has to do with that. I know a company, Holoxica, in the UK. They use it. What do they use it anymore? I think it's either for a building. So when you want to buy a house, they will print for you a 3D, a hologram, so that you can see it. I didn't like that it was fixed. Once it's printed, you could not modify it anymore. Any holography applications?
Head-up display.
Heads-up display, that's not holography, no?
Yes,
it is?
Purely holography.
It's holography. So the fact that you have helmets. So heads-up display in the car. You're driving in the car now. Each time I have to go like, how fast am I going? 160, 180, go like this. Not very safe. So a safer way is like when you can just see it on the screen, 180, 200, 220. That's much safer than going like that. So they are using the fact, they are adapting the fact, it's indeed 3D, that you're looking forward. You don't look at the windshield. You just keep looking normal, and you see that. They have it dans les casques de moto. You have a camera. I think that's how the Google Glass works. Google Glass, is it shining the light inside, or it's a micro display here?
No, it shines light
from the inside, huh? Yes, so you just keep looking, but you're using a 3D, not like, you know, with a little plastic that you kind of look like that, but they shine directly into the retina, or you just keep, yes, they shine the light into the retina so you can just see the images. So that is probably one of the most impressive things. You're just looking forward and you see. So you have all heard from virtual reality. Who has heard of enhanced reality? I see that's the young people here. Have you heard of enhanced reality? Yes. Okay, then it's just me. I don't have a TV at home. There you go. But enhanced reality, that's all of these applications. You're just walking and you could then see what is inside the building. Oh, Starbucks, oh, my friend is in there, or things like that. Anything with holography? No. Yes?
I read some ideas about shopping, and you're just trying your clothes with holographic programs.
So that you would go to the shop, he knows your body, and you say, can you please show me with the red thing, with this one and that, and if you have pink trousers and a red shirt or whatever.
And some entertainment, there was a concert, Tupac was Rebirth.
Yes.
There's a new Tupac concert, even if he died.
Exactly. It's again one of those things. Is that going to work, yes or no? And it could go both ways. You know the SMS? That is supposed to die, the SMS. 144 characters limit. I mean, that should be dead. They still send tons and millions of SMSs every day. So that one, is it going to work? Do people want to change the clothes, or do they just want to have, as you say, that model in there? It's an interesting, again, technology is there. What's going to happen? The other one is in the, when you walk, you see the poster, the publicité. So it used to be paper. Okay. Then they had the idea, let's roll the paper. So it goes up and down, so you can now have 3 posters into 1 poster. That was the evolution. And then they said, well, let's put a display so that, you know, you can just change it. Okay, great. And then they said, well, you know, in the afternoon there are more children, so let's put the advertisement for the children at 4 o'clock, and then for the other adults at 10 o'clock, so you would change it that way. And the future, or whatever is already now, is that it's a camera. You know, it's very easy today. I don't know if you have seen any of these face recognition softwares. It's really not bad. I have tried it, and he's able to scan all my pictures and see this is the same child, and this is you. So it's not too bad with very cheap software. So it's very easy to see if you're black, white, old, young, family. And when you're walking by with my 2 kids, then I will see all the Kindersurprise and all of those things. You know? And if I look very flashy with my girlfriend, then he goes like holiday to Bahamas. So that's using it for advertisement purposes. He sees what kind of profile you are, and let's adapt the advertisement to that. Yeah. So that could be also another application. The question is always business. Is it worth the cost for the return of it? So then you have a business case again. Remember, it's not always the best ideas that make it. Okay? So if you become a super engineer, an Einstein, don't fall in love with your technology. You will love it, but you know, you're probably the only one. That's not what the world cares about. So you don't know this. This one you will not know. Who has heard of Betamax? VHS? VHS it's called, no? It's a video format. Who has heard of videotapes? Oh, maybe we're that far. There were 3 formats when there was like, now we had Blu-ray, DVD, disc-rate, Blu-ray, I don't know. It was a bit of a competition. What was it, Blu-ray or? Yeah, something like that. And it was not quite sure, so they compete. So when it was the tape, you had 3 formats, VHS, Betamax, and V2000, I think. And I believe the Betamax was the better format technically. So technically, Betamax was better, engineers. But it's VHS that won the contest. That became the standard. So again, it's not because you have a better ID that it will work. And when you're married, you will realize the same. It's not because I have a better ID that my wife says, well, sure, I'll go for that one. Also, if innovation, you know, innovation, well, you're in high technology, but it's like the Heinz ketchup. They haven't innovated much. I mean, you know, the only thing they innovated, I think, 5 years ago is when you turn the bottle around. And it's not even the bottle, they just turn the sticker around, you know. But, okay, any other questions? Yes?
Just a question. As you work with companies, I know that in CNRS, they are developing diamonds who change colors with an impulse of energy.
Yes.
And well, it should change it should help to change from binary to trinary. And
you're listening that because it's a really tech question. I'm going to go to you afterwards, Philip. Yes.
No, but just do you know if it's developed today or not? Because you work with.
Well, I don't know, but just because you mentioned CNRS, I would assume no. And the reason for that, sorry, not because it's CNRS, but because you have really, let's say, it's not called basic science, you have then applied science, and then you have before applied science. Basic science. And CNRS is doing a lot of basic science.
Yes, more or less.
More, okay, but there is not, who is doing more basic science than CNRS?
It depends on
okay. So you have various kind of organizations. You've got those that do basic science, also called the blue sky research. It's the guys who can just do crazy things, you know, we don't know. And CNRS is a lot in the basic science. Then you have those that do applied science, the CEA, le LETI. LETI, who knows LETI? CEA? Yeah, but what does CEA stand for? Okay, one person, you. You don't know. Oh. CEA, yes. Yeah. What else? Then who knows what else it means? Yeah, their marketing hasn't gone through yet. Sorry? No, it used to be Centre d'énergie atomique, but now it's Centre d'énergie alternative. They have modified. You know. It's like BP. Who knows what BP stands for? Beyond petroleum. Because they started doing solar as well, marketing. So CEA, they are doing more in the applied research. So I do not know. Do you have an answer to that one?
No, not really. In fact, I think the border between basic and applied is now more and more difficult to define.
Yes.
If you just take the example of the Institut of Optics, we have both very basic blue sky research and very applied research. So now it's a mix.
So you need a bit of everything. You need to have blue sky research so that you understand the fundamentals, that you can invent new stuff. Then you need applied research so that you can do this into something concrete, and then you need companies to commercialize that. So that is a very good question for my next part of the talk, for which I'll try to go. So the next part of my talk is these people who look totally unimportant to you, and it's the European Commission in Brussels. And so the European Commission, there are 4 commissioners. So the European Commission, a bit of politics. You've got a European Commissioner, and then he has 27 vice presidents or departments, let's say, in charge of various kind of departments, agriculture, environment, and things like that. And there are 4 commissioners, DG Enterprise, all the business aspect. Guegan is in charge of research. He's in charge of the regions, regional development, and not here, but Nelly Kroes is in charge of all the ICT technology. And so what I want to make is a link between all what we discussed and fantastic technologies, and I hope you are, who doesn't find photonics exciting? You don't like photonics, you don't understand my question. No, but I hope that you all find photonics technologies very exciting, and that I could convey that it's great and you have done the right choice and all of that. But in the end, how many of you expect to have a job later on? I'm surprised by the speed of going that up, the ambition. Okay, you're not there yet, so you can take your time to raise the hand. But supposedly you want to have a job after the studies. And this is something which is quite political. It's political. It's a country that cares that people have a job and that you find a job and all of that. If you only do research, basic research, then all you can do when you're finished is go and work in basic research. You know, what you want is that basic research to go into applied research and to be into products, and then you can work into companies to further develop the products. But only doing basic research is maybe not enough to create enough employment for everybody. Also, I guess because in basic research you have really top-level scientists, Einsteins, well, so we need to provide work for everybody, for operators, for engineers, mechanical engineers, software engineers. Then you need people to sell the product, sales, marketing, accounting, the secretaries, and the whole thing. So, you know, only doing research is not enough. The problem is that Europe used to, a couple of problems here, is that Europe, if we take the patents, les licences, les patentes, the patents as a reflection of competitiveness. So you see, Europe is here, so we're pretty stable, okay? We have quite a good, worldwide, we have about 40% of the worldwide shares of patents. Then Asia is coming up. That's 2002. I remember, that's about 10 years ago, I remember saying, don't worry, the Chinese, they will always do the low-cost stuff, you know, and that, and we are going to do the smart stuff, you know, plus we have experience, and these engineers have 30 years experience, and they don't. Well, 10 years later, they have all 10 years more experience, plus there are many more of them than us, plus they have more engineers graduating every year than the US or than Europe, okay? So the situation has evolved, as you can see, in the last 10 years. So the fact that Europe is leading in research, which was the case, and which has always been very strong, first of all, it's not the case anymore. So we're not having all of the patents. Even if Europe had the patents and the best brains, that is not always enough. Why? If you take 2 cases, one is on batteries. Who has the patents in batteries? Europe, US. How much batteries do we produce? 0. Okay, so very good. Europe, you can have the patents, and China, we're going to produce batteries, we're going to sell batteries, we're going to hire people to make these batteries. By the way, we're going to make a lot of money with that. Maybe we can then reinvest that money into developing research to then make our own patents, and they break that cycle. Okay, so having patents alone is not enough. We must also have production. And this is really nice. You know, when you come here, all this park, each time I come here just once or twice a year, is developing Oriba. You know, they have a lot of, I don't know how many people work there, but when you see these companies, Thales, that's a good one, Thales, well, it's Thales Research and Technology, but you need companies that produce products, make money, pay taxes, hire people, and reinvent that money. Another example, sorry it's a little bit old, but for those of you who do not know, solar cells, the technology maybe exists for 50 years or whatever, you know, they exist for a long time. But only since maybe 10 years do they start commercializing that you see it on the rooftops. Okay? Europe was making 50% of the machines, so most of the machines to make solar cells come from Europe. The world-leading research institutes like Fraunhofer Solar Institute in Germany, and CEA, Lines, a lot leading research in photovoltaic in Europe. The manufacturing is Europe, and the biggest market where we sell these solar panels is in Germany, which is not even a solar sun country. So Europe had the biggest market, the best technology, and all of the machines. And now, a few years later, somebody else is making all of these solar panels. Now, something is wrong here. You know, if you have all of the effort and you have done all of this, it's like if you study and you have gone to school every day, and then you woke up, you don't go to parties, you do all what you have to, and in the end, somebody else is getting the good grades. And the problem is that, you know, in the ideal world, we should have had that market, but the Chinese government said, oh, this is a very interesting market. We are going to support manufacturing. And they gave billions in bank loans to develop the solar energy in China. And so they started producing, overproducing. The price of solar panels went down. Companies, it was an oversupply. When there is too much oversupply, the price goes down. And if you have to sell it cheaper than it costs you to make it, then you have a problem. And that's what happened. So having the patents and all of that is just not enough. So this is just a quick recap of what happened. We stopped at 10,010. But as you can see, here, you know, we had a lot of European players, and a few years later, you know, what happens with these European guys? So again, research, do your best. Be leading excellence. It's needed, you know, it's a prerequisite. You must be leading in excellence. But you also need industrial policies, politics, capital, venture capital, entrepreneurs, business people to be able to make companies and then make these jobs possible. And this is just, you know, that's also in the US. It's, you know, manufacturing policy. Obama clearly states manufacturing is important. There is now a change in the last 4 years. More and more you hear that manufacturing is important. So I'd like to focus a little bit on photonics ecosystem. So there is a spreadsheet that I have compiled with 5,000 companies that develop technologies for photonics, components, diodes, lasers, or who either use photonics technologies. So it's a very, very dynamic, very vibrant industry. Okay, it's huge, 5,000. If you cannot put it in comparison, you know, if you take electronics, well, you have got 2 centers that make electronics. It's in France, Grenoble, and in Germany, Dresden. And Intel has a fab in Ireland, very small. Associations, semi-associated, 2 or 3 associations. So it's quite limited, the actors. In photonics, it's enormous. You know, 5,000 companies. Well, when you finish, that means you have 5,000 companies to go apply for a job versus a sector where you don't have as much. The companies in photonics are usually small companies. So the big ones is really, okay, don't look at the slides. 86% of the companies are small and young. So the electronics industry is old people and the photonics industry is young people. How do I know this? I organize a lot of conferences. I'm usually at the back next to the projector. And in electronics, you see all the gray hair from all the guys. And then with the photonics guys, then you see black hair. It's not very scientific, but it's a good reflection of the whole thing. Photonics companies, young guys, 30s, 40s, companies less than 10 years old, less than 10 people, very much startup, very much innovation, technology. So a lot of small companies. And you are lucky that in the area here you have Optics Valley, you have a lot of companies, high-tech companies in this area around Paris. I want to, yeah, we have 10, I'm just going to close now, if that's okay with you, so that we have 10 minutes for any other eventual questions. Day of Photonics, 21st of October is the Day of Photonics. That is when the speed of light was recognized by the standardization body. And that is a good excuse to organize something around photonics. We want people to know about photonics. If you want to go to a school with little children, you can do something. If you want to just have a party and be creative of whatever you want to do in photonics, please talk to François. You know, you're more than welcome to do something around Photonics Day. I also would like to encourage you, again, based with that experience I had with Julien Trastour, the stagiaire, who was really impressed of going to an exhibition and seeing products, seeing diodes, seeing lasers, seeing fibers, talking to the salespeople. He really enjoyed that very much. And so it's in 2 weeks. Next week, you're very lucky to have in Paris, Innova, Opto. There's a big exhibition in Paris, and François said that you're welcome to go there, so I don't know how you'll distribute that information, but I really encourage you to go and see it. You know, what you're studying is very concrete in the studies, it's concrete in the components, it's concrete in the applications, and just going there, talking to people maybe gives you helps to make it concrete, you know, all of those things that you're studying. So I think any other questions, please? We still have 8 minutes. And as I understand, they cannot get out before 8 minutes, so we have to stay here anyway.
Yes.
I might as well ask questions. Any questions? Yes? I thought you were asleep. Glad to see you raising a question.
It seems like photonics technology in France is not as developed as in other European countries. Is that the case?
No, why would you say that the photonics...
Could you repeat the question?
So the question is, it seems from the map that I showed earlier that the photonics industry is less developed in France than in other parts of the world. Well, no, that is not the case. The reason, the map is probably not a correct reflection, but to put this map together, I have asked the associations in the various countries, please send me the list of the companies in France doing photonics, and you know, some companies give more than others. So that's, but there is much more than that, because the SFO or the AFOP has 1,000 companies.
So
we are around more than 900.
So the AFOP, l'Association Française d'Optique Photonique, has 900 companies. If they don't give me the list, I cannot put it there, so that's why I don't have it. But no, you probably have 1,000. So 5,000, I would say the strongest one is probably Germany, France, UK, Switzerland, Netherlands a little bit. So, but certainly UK, France, Germany would be the strongest countries. Well, first of all, the map is how he groups it a little bit. So it's not a it's not a good map. No, because the system kind of grouped it, but not geographically. So the map is not good. But France has probably about 1,000 companies. What I do think is a challenge with big countries versus small countries. I live in Belgium. I look Chinese. I'm half from Singapore. But I live in Belgium, which is a small country, which is a weakness, small country, you know. And one of the world-leading research centers in nanoelectronics is IMEC. And IMEC is really strong worldwide, leading. Why? Because they work with the best companies all around the world. The weakness was that there is nothing in Belgium. Therefore, they had to work with any company around the world. And now they are very strong. And sometimes the strength of a country is that if France is a strong country, we have everything in France, well, we just work with the French. And that, you know, you have to think that there is more than that. So I think it's very important to immediately start thinking outside of your own country. It's really crucial, because if there are so much knowledge, so much competencies around the world. I'm going to Australia in December. I'll stop by Singapore. I'll go to the US. I'll go to Russia. They have a lot of strengths over there as well. So, you know, there is so much knowledge, competence, and strengths all over the world that it's really important that you open up your mind and look at the world just as one, and definitely not narrow yourself to your country. Thank you. One last question. Yes?
What is your everyday work at EPIC?
My everyday work. My wife doesn't know that either, and my children also don't know that. They just wonder. She thinks I just travel and have food, and that's all I do, which for the most part is true also. So I have two jobs. I have 180 companies, and they pay the association. So the one task is to help these companies be successful. And the other one, I'll go into more details about that. And the other one is to make sure that Europe is successful in photonics. My job is to do anything I can to coordinate activities so that in 30 years, we still have photonics strong in Europe. Today, we really are strong. But as you saw, we lost photovoltaic, we lost LED lighting, we lost electronics, we lost the display industry. I have to make sure that we try to do what we can so that Europe is strong in photonics. So to help the companies, what we do is we give them market reports. You know, these are market reports that usually you buy for $5,000. It's the normal price. So for 5,000 euros, you will get a report that tells you these are the markets, that's the size of the markets, these are the applications of that, gives them some ideas. These small companies cannot buy those reports. It's really too expensive, so we give it to them for free. We also organize meetings where we bring together, for instance, 25 CTOs, Chief Technology Officers, so the people that develop the technology in the companies, and we go around the table and say, what do you see as market developments and as technology developments? And you have to say what you think is maybe a secret, but you know, what you think is really a secret, you know. But if 25 people do that, we all learn. So, you know, you give one ID and you get 25 back. So that's also one way of sharing. That's the saying, you know, if I have an apple and Francois has an apple and we switch, then we both have just one apple. But if I give an ID and he gives me an ID, now we both have 2 IDs. So the sharing among our members, it's a lot. So that's the one thing, meetings where we just talk. And probably the last thing, which is most valuable, is to organize technology workshops. So we'll be organizing workshops about the cancerous tumor cells. We go to a hospital, there is a problem. Can we find companies all along the value chain? Value chain means so the doctor is the customer, companies that make the diodes, some that make the research, some that makes the lasers, and all together can we talk about that problem and try to solve it. So bringing people together. So a lot of my job is about knowing companies and people. So in a year, I will meet about 750 people. I will visit 50 companies, and then I try to make these connections like, oh, you do this, you need that, and bringing people. It's bringing the whole photonics community together. So most of my work is organizing meetings, making those reports, organizing activities such as Day of Photonics, putting together a database so that you know which companies exist. That would be my day-to-day job. Thank you for asking. Okay, if there are no last questions, then I would like to, you have a question? No? Well, if you don't have any last questions, I would like to thank you all very much. You have been very nice students. You haven't thrown tomatoes or whatever, so that's very kind. I thank you very much, and I understand it's your first year. You probably just started, so I wish you all the best for your studies. Thank you for your attention.